Hey guys, welcome back to an abrupt ending first attempt. I mean, I don't know what happened. I just seen like boom, power mode off in front of me, and I was like, oh no. So hopefully that doesn't happen again, and hopefully I don't get cut off mid-sentence. As much as many people would probably love for me to be cut off, but yeah, I'm not really sure where I finished and where I started, but I'm just gonna start it in. Why don't you go introduce yourself once again, Martin White, for those who didn't really hear it, because again, I'm not really sure what happened.
No worries. Hi guys, Martin from Gfinity here. I'm sitting in the player lounge at the Gfinity arena. It's all gone a bit quiet now because everyone's gone home, but I'm still here holding the fort.
That's good. Dedication at its finest. First question, what I asked was kind of what is the Gfinity really like? Because last time he was on the show, it was actually champs. I think it was like it was the Wednesday before champs. He was in America, March. There we go. So obviously it was a couple of months ago, and as a result, the arena's gone through a lot of I wouldn't say changes, but a lot of people going in and out the door. Obviously, with you
Yeah,
hosting, I believe it's 10 events. Is that right?
yeah. Since we spoke last, we've hosted 10 events. The arena's established and is establishing itself nicely now in terms of people knowing where it is and where to come to watch sort of top level esports week in week out. We've had some really strong viewing results from all the games that we've done. Talking Call of Duty specifically, it was a tremendous weekend. Really good. It was great because we had all the players who were at ESWC arriving here early, so they were using the facilities to warm up and practice and chill, and it kind of felt really sort of for the first time really like an arena, as you had all the top stars sort of wandering around and making themselves at home. So it's one of these things that we knew would take a little while to bed in and establish itself. But we're very happy with how it's going. It's excellent. We're really pleased.
And of course, that's what I was going to ask next is what's actually like now. Is there anything what you kind of didn't really see at the beginning when the whole concept of having an arena inside of a fair, is it now kind of got to the stage where there's some things what would say are hidden gems, or is it just as good as it was last time?
No, we've changed a little bit of the setup. So we swapped. We have obviously two stages. We have the challenger stage and the main stage.
Yeah.
So we moved the casters from the main stage into their own studio. Now we've brought the hosts and the analysts out into the actual arena area of the main stage as well to kind of make it a little bit more interactive with the people that turn up. And that change has worked really well. We've increased the size of the booths to make them a bit more comfortable for the players. Changed the lighting. So, it was always going to be one of these things that evolved over time. We felt really happy with it when we launched, and but it's like anything. You kind of as once you get into sort of a live environment, you start thinking about ways and sort of means to improve it. And so we've made a few tweaks here and there. I mean, having Red Eye, Paul Challoner come in as head of broadcasting since the last time we spoke has helped as well, because the quality of our production's gone absolutely through the roof. We're really pleased with how that's going, and that will continue to improve. So yeah, it's slightly different to how it was when we launched, and I imagine ongoing, this time in 5 years it'll be different to how it is now, and but only with a view to constantly improve everything.
Yeah, of course. And one thing what you did mention on was with it being a live event, you are going to attract crowds coming into the event, and that's one question I really want to touch on, because when you watch the stream, you watch the gameplay, you don't really see the crowd. So what is the crowds like? Would you say there's a regular amount of people coming into the arena every week, or is it new faces from you'll get like 1 week where it's CS fans, one week where it's FIFA fans, or do you start to see a consistent amount of people from the full mirror coming in, familiar faces, so to speak, coming in, and regulars,
Yeah,
or is it just
we've had a few regulars that come in that are just esports fans, and are that because they might live locally, they might come just to experience some new games. But largely the communities and the crowds have been sort of fans of the game. So we're really pleased with how. I mean, Call of Duty was a sellout. I mean, the last Counter-Strike event we had people sitting on the stairs. It was so busy. So which is great. I mean, we'll keep that one to ourselves in terms of health and safety. But everyone was safe. Everything was fine. Nobody got hurt. It was all good.
Get trampled on when you go down the stairs.
Yeah, exactly. So we make sure we look after everybody. But what's been really pleasing is the atmosphere that's been generated at each of the events is excellent. It was one of the main drivers around having a bespoke sort of dedicated venues that we could drive a live sport kind of atmosphere in, and that's starting to happen now, and we're really pleased.
Okay, and since you last came on the show, you kind of, Gfinity as a company kind of announced a few things. One of them being the Gfinity League, the second one being the 100K event we're going to be talking about later on. But the Gfinity League is something what I really want to focus on because a lot of people have been asking for this since the start of Advanced Warfare, pretty much. Like, we need a European League to kind of replicate and mirror the one what's currently in North America, what seems to be doing pretty well. Finally, it's happened. Finally, Gfinity have kind of decided this is the way to go, and I'm sure it's took months, if not years, of planning to get to this stage. And that's what I really want to ask you: is someone who's kind of behind the scenes, who's kind of like the center of it all. How much hard work has kind of come into getting this league together?
It's taken a lot of hard work, and the credit for it has to go to the specific esports team here. That they've put a lot of effort into pulling together a structure that ticks or tries to at least tick the boxes on multiple levels. So that the way that obviously the league structure is, we have a premiership, we have a championship, and then we have feeder divisions that allow strict. Very clear paths of progression from people playing just in with their mates to forming a team, professionalising, going all the way through the ranks, so to speak. So the esports team here have worked very, very hard to come up with the right sort of structure. What we then did, as we always do, is that we seek the partnership of Activision, who obviously they publish the game, and it's very, very important, and people overlook, in my opinion, the importance of working closely with these people, because it's their game, it's their property. They very kindly allow us to use it in order to create these amazing experiences. So to get them involved and partnering with us, not only in general but locally, in terms of the UK and France and Germany and Spain, etc., in the local territories, is really, really important. And that's the kind of thing that took the time. And the reason it took the time is because they were very passionate, as were we, about doing it right, structuring it correctly, having all of the kind of buttons and whistles in place to make sure that it was a really good experience for people playing, and it's a really good experience for people that watch it. So we apologise it took a little bit longer, and part of the reason I was out at Champs was to canvass the opinion of the European teams about what it is that they would want from a league. Was it going to be one that's spanned across Europe? Did they want a UK league, a French league, a German league that then fed into something else? And so this is the first iteration of the EU Pro League that will run until the end of Advanced Warfare, it kicks off soon, and we're excited to see how it goes.
Awesome. I just wanted to kind of feed into, obviously, I've already seen a couple of people put it in the chat about the whole 18 plus thing. I kind of just wanted to get out of the way to start with. Obviously, you talked about how important it is to be on good terms with the developers, the publishers of the game you're obviously actually having at your events, because ultimately you are in essence making money in broadcasting a game, and you should ultimately follow their kind of rules and regulations. And obviously one of the things that you've instated into the Call of Duty events, at least, is the 18 plus thing. I know we talked about it time and time again. I mean, for you personally, how do you feel about it? Because I know you've got obviously a lot of slack. We talked about it pre-show, but is it something that it's a bit like it's always going to be a losing situation one way or the other? Because obviously if you don't follow because I presume you've had talks with Activision and this is what you've come to the agreement with. So if you don't follow that agreement, you obviously are pleasing the people who aren't 18. But obviously if you you do that, you're obviously going to lose the trust and the support of the developers and publishers. So for you, was it behind Gfinity, was it a tricky situation? Was it something that took a long time to kind of figure out what you were going to do about it?
Well, like we spoke about before, we've always followed the PEGI ratings of the games that we support. And part of that absolutely is to show to people like Activision that we have the respect for them as a company, to make sure that we protect the brand, we protect the game, and we represent the game as well as possible. That's just the professional way of doing things. That's the reason we're able to do things in such a high quality way, because we put those aspects alongside aspects such as the community at the peak of importance. And it's a really, really tricky situation in terms of the fact that the PEGI rating of the game for us is kind of an important rule to, or an important guideline to abide by. I mean, I think it's fair to say that, there are aspects of the people that play the game that are under the age of 18 who have aspirations to be professionals and have aspirations to participate in tournaments and pro leagues that, might not necessarily be there in terms of maturity in the way that they handle themselves on things such as Twitter, that we want involved, because some of the behaviour, it leaves a lot to be desired, and you eradicate a little bit of that by kind of increasing the age of participation, because maturity kicks in at some stage. And I'm not saying that the community is immature at all, because I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Sitting in the chat thinking, is mine calling me immature?
No, I'm not. There are. I'm not. That's not a generalisation at all.
Yeah.
It's based on.
It's a reality.
On the reaction of a few people.
But
that said, I mean, the PEGI rating of the game is 18. If the PEGI rating of the game was 16, the entry level would be 16. So it's not that we want to or are actively looking to exclude people. And like I said to you before, you said to you guys before in March, if we're going to get to a point where we professionalise this whole thing, and it becomes a source of income for more people than it currently is now, and it's attractive to broadcasters and it's attractive to major brands to commercially support the whole thing, it's worth it, and that's where we see it going. But like I said, if this was Call of Duty Ghosts, it'd be 16, because that was the PEGI rating of the game. It isn't. The PEGI rating's 18, so it's 18 for us.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, obviously, with it not being 18 plus, it does hold some people back. Obviously, Rage, yourself, you aren't 18 just yet, but you will next month. And then obviously you can attend Gfinity.
Then obviously I'll be playing the Premiership, because I'm such a good player.
Obviously,
I'm so talented. I'll
see
be picked up during that transfer window.
I wanted to kind of ask you a bit of a tricky question now, because obviously, let's say, hypothetically, more organisations within Europe follow your lead in making the tournaments and events in general 18 plus for both spectators and people who want to play in and participate in these events. Do you think we're going to see a decline in maybe participation throughout Europe? Obviously, if you put it to 18 plus at all LAN events, say that's in terms of if you want to be on both ends of the sticks, both spectating and obviously playing, do you not think we'll see a lot of people maybe go away from the scene, go to other games? Because obviously, like Rage, obviously he is wanting to become a cast. Sorry, I'm using Rage too much as an example.
I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit here and cry for a bit.
No. But honestly, like, obviously Rage is wanting to become a caster within Call of Duty, and let's say he came into the scene 2 years later. He was 2017, let's say, and by then everything is pretty much 18 plus. Do you not think we'd get to the point where we may be pushing away talents and players, etc., because they basically can't get anywhere until they're 18? And obviously 18 is an age where a lot of people have to make decisions. They have to make decisions about maybe going to university or maybe doing different things with their lives. So do you think with that age, if other organizations do follow, do you think it is going to maybe hinder? I get the whole professionalism thing, but obviously it's a tricky age because a lot's going on for a normal 18-year-old's life.
No, it is a tricky situation, but I mean, like I said, the entry requirements for us would kind of always follow PEGI, but there are a couple of opportunities here. I feel there are opportunities for us to maybe help educate and potentially, hopefully, find ourselves in a position which is something we'd like to do. Would have a way of feeding into the classification system for the multiplayer aspect of Call of Duty, which it doesn't. The content from multiplayer, the content from the esports side of COD that we broadcast doesn't feature any of the aspects that get the game an 18 rating. However, the game has an 18 rating and that needs to be respected. So what we want to be able to do is through this process is actually say, look, okay, here is how many people we are able to get to participate. Here are only people we could get to participate that are between the ages of 16 to 18. The blocker is the classification. The classification doesn't apply to multiplayer because of this, and this.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can find either not a loophole, because you shouldn't use loopholes? That's just that's dodgy ground. But is there a way that we can kind of educate, or change the process so that actually the classification for games is actually done on multiple levels? So if you are, you probably need to be a certain age to buy the game. But can you be X to watch it? Can you be X to play multiplayer? Are there special dispensations we can get as an esports organizer that allow different ages to participate? Because like I said before, and let me be totally clear, we are not wanting to exclude absolutely anybody. I'm a big fan of the old football adage. I don't know who said it. I don't know whether it was Alex Ferguson or someone said it, but someone said if you're good enough, you're old enough. And that is, and we want people to play. We want mass participation. We want to find
you're just
the best
abiding
talent.
by a Peggy rating.
We are, we're doing the very best that we can to make sure that we balance, we balance and deliver for everybody. So in terms of what other tournament organisers are going to do, down to them. I don't care one way or the other what they do. I've got no feeling on. I
don't care what they do.
I genuinely don't care what they do. I care very passionately about what we do, and everybody at Gfinity will say the same. And I think that's why we've got the good relationship we've got with Activision. I think that's why we're able to progress things as well as we have done in the last 2.5 years. And although it might not be an ideal situation at the moment, I imagine it will become a lot in the future. It's just an education process, and that is a very long answer to your question.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just before we do move on, because I'm sure we want to get away from the whole under 18 thing. I think one thing that most people forget is the fact that obviously Advanced Warfare has implemented the paintball mode, what is a very good thing to go forward on. But I don't want to on it too much, because I definitely agree with the fact that multiplayer doesn't have as much 18 plus content, should we say, in it. But hopefully in the future, I think we should see some progression, should we say. I think, Rage, you're going to hit with another question.
Again, I kind of have to just backtrack a little bit and say I agree with Gfinity stance on that to a certain extent. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit annoying, but again, it does make sense that it's good that you're taking the risky approaches in not necessarily being the most liked company in now. But then obviously, because obviously as soon as you split up the company, like the whole scene, and go, right, you can compete, you can't compete, you're not necessarily going to be the most liked. But I like the fact that you've kind of got the guts to do that, and knowing that obviously you're getting the support from
Look, there were people
bold,
that,
and I appreciate it for being bold.
No, there were people that battered us. I got
I can imagine.
I personally got quite a lot of stick about it, but it's one of these things. If we have to lose a tiny bit of popularity in order to do something proper, that people can look back on in the years to come to say, actually, in hindsight, that was definitely the best move, and that's enabled us to build something special, we'll take that on the chin. And we'll always do that. We love the community. We appreciate the support. We're totally humbled day in, day out by the feedback that we get, and the fact that we're able to do what we do now. But all we're asking, that I know it's irritating for some people that are on the cusp of the age ranges, but it will be something amazing. It will be something special. It's the start. It's the very beginning of something that's truly going to be huge, and it's just short-term pain for a long-term gain.
That's a good way to put it. And talking about something what's at the beginning of something with potential to be huge, the Gfinity League, that's what we're here for. So we'll kind of take the weight off your shoulders in terms of fighting your corner for the 18 plus, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Gfinity League. I appreciate
anything.
We talked about that
the age,
I should have brought it up.
Anything.
I know you must have no, never mind. I was going to bring you straight back into the subject again, but I was like, I need to start.
We're spending the whole time just
Rage. You can't talk to me about this because you're not old enough, brother.
Oh, leave.
I'm only joking, mate. I'm only joking.
Gfinity League, of course, there's for those of you who aren't already aware of it, it's kind of follows the same format as football. Yes, I did say football for you Americans out there, but it's kind of in the sense that you got the Premiership, the Championship, then Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The Premiership and the Championship, I believe every other league is going to consist of 8 teams in them. The Premiership teams, just to run down the list quickly, is Epsilon, Millennium, Hyper Games, VWS, who qualified online, Team Vitality, Infused, Gamers 2, and Over Gaming, I believe, what was a Spanish team what qualified online as well. So I believe the way you did it is you invited 6 teams, at the top, and then invited 2 others. What was the thinking about that? Did you not decide to leave it to open qualification so you had 8 teams, or did you kind of feel there were some teams what deserved their place?
So yeah, we kind of debated long and hard about how to do it, but there was I think like we were talking about sort of pre-show. It's always going to be a tiny bit mucky when you launch something like this in terms of how you structure it, because ideally, you want the best and the most deserving teams to be competing. So there was an element of where we had to do some invitational stuff, because it's with respect to everybody, it's quite clear who the best teams in Europe were. So we made sure that because we'd involved them in the way that we were going to structure the whole thing, so we made sure we included them from the get-go. And obviously we wanted to open up a little bit to the online qualification side of things, which is where we got the 2 fantastic teams that were qualified through that route as well. So, there was an aspect of being able to get involved. And you'll see over the sort of the next few seasons, the cream rises to the top, etc.
Yeah.
The people that aren't good enough get relegated, the people that are good enough get promoted and get involved. And that's why the league is structured very, quite rightly, as you said, like football, in that pyramid structure where you have a Premiership, you have a Championship, then you have multiple divisions beneath that feed into that. And ideally, we want as many people taking part in those feeder leagues as possible that aren't involved in the top 2 divisions, because there is a clear progression path. There's a progression path to the Championship where you can win money. I mean, you can win money if you kind of win your feeder league and you win the bracket that qualifies for the following season. You can win some cash there, invest it into your team, build a brand, do the same through the Championship, get into the Premiership, qualify for Gfinity events, which carry obviously the pro points, get yourself over to compete in North America or MLG or COD Champs. It's the start of something, and we wanted to be able to create a very, very clear route for people to be able to progress.
Okay, it's very good the fact that obviously Gfinity are kind of supplying the tools necessary to progress up the food chain, so to speak, to the sense where you eventually, hopefully, I'm sure the dream is for everyone competing in those lower divisions is to finally get into the Premiership and finally get to the stage where you do qualify for the 100k. What again we're going to be talking about later on, but before that you got to kind of stay tuned, stock up the tea, flick the kettle on, and we'll see you on the other side of this minute break. See you in a bit. Bye. Hey guys, and welcome back. Hopefully you've stocked up the tea, and hopefully while you're on the break you had a scroll down below and had a look at the codes what we have to offer. Tommy doesn't have tea. I don't have tea. But last time I did that, it poured down me, so I'm not going to do that again. But make sure you check the codes down below. STiKS, use it to get 10% off G Fuel and 5% off Scruff, because 2 great products. I love them. Use it. Anyway, moving swiftly on from let's talk a little bit more about the Gfinity League, because it's probably one of the key. It's definitely going to make Europe more interesting for some of the outside entities. I'm sure there's a lot of NA players kind of looking in, wanting to keep an eye on this EU league. A lot of the Australian players as well wanting to keep an eye on this, see who's the best. So that's probably where a lot of the attention is. And one thing I do want to talk about is how the top 4 from the league automatically get a place in the 100k. What's another thing what we're going to be talking about? What is, I believe it's 16 teams. Is that right, Martin? Yeah, 16 teams is obviously going to be battling out for 100k. Can you shed a little bit more light onto that?
Well, I'll tell you everything about it.
That's great.
No, it's all right. Yeah, I'm not exactly a steel trap. I'll get in trouble, but whatever. So the reason behind holding a 100k tournament was that we wanted to do something that was we've got a history and a track record of doing stuff that's new and fresh and exciting and dynamic and stuff. So there hadn't been a tournament with a $100,000 prize pot so far, especially not in Europe. That's definitely not in the UK. I think it's probably the second biggest. It's definitely the second, I think, purely prize pot since Champs, so it's a big deal. And what we wanted to do was give Call of Duty something really special to go for. There's been some amazing prize pots that have been bandied around in other games. There's no point in talking about Dota because that's just on a completely different planet. But League of Legends does incredibly well. The prize pots in CS:GO are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and COD is in our opinion, the esport that has the kind of biggest potential to kind of mirror the viewing numbers that you get with those games, and therefore let's give it a prize pot outside of champs that attract people towards it. The players are top. We want them to earn some great money. It's something that we thought would be really, really exciting. So, obviously we changed the structure to the events as well in terms of, the second Spring Masters is obviously the launch of the EU Pro League. The second Summer Masters will be another EU Pro League event, and we kind of lump it all into the first Summer Masters, which is where the 100 grand is coming from. What that enables us to do as well is give the European teams a bit more of the spotlight, a bit more of the focus, help them build their brands, give them their own events, their own prizing, which again enables them to go off and develop as teams and organisations. And again, that's the right thing to do. It's the right way to go about it. We have an obligation, in our opinion, and we have a responsibility to do these things. And that's why we change things around a bit. There are plenty of events going on this year in terms of Call of Duty from ourselves, from our friends over at MLG, other people like UMG as well. They're doing some cool stuff. So there's plenty of opportunity for players to play. And so the European Pro League, and then obviously tying some of that into physical events here at the arena, hopefully helps generate a bit more of a buzz around European Call of Duty. Like I said to you before, at Champs, I didn't want us to go to Champs as European teams and get slapped. Unfortunately, that happened a little bit. Just a tiny bit. But this is what the EU Pro League and the kind of further investment from ourselves and Activision in European Call of Duty is there to do, is to close that gap and get ourselves on that podium at the end, covered in confetti and lifted up checks for $400,000.
Yeah, you sound like you've gone into so much detail. It's almost as if you've been dreaming it. Like you have dreams of like you
don't want to be a fly on the wall when this debate starts here. Everyone is very, very passionate about European Call of Duty, and we want it and we want it bad, and I'm not going to start. I'm already sweating. I might start swearing. Let's not. No, we just want it really badly. I'm getting a bit unprofessional. Sorry, but what the 100 grand tournament allows us to do is still showcase the very, very best in the world. It will give us an incredible tournament to broadcast. The way that the prizing, I think, breaks down in terms of that Call of Duty event. I'm just trying to open a document that will give me the rundown. The final, the way that breaks down is the top team could win 50 grand.
I was going to talk to you about that.
There's a 25 grand difference in prize pot. There's a £25,000 difference in prize pot, and that's crazy. That's mental. That puts so much pressure on that game that everybody has to tune in and watch it. Everybody wants to play in that final. That team walk out of there with some crazy money. And obviously a nice time in London too. So, it's a real big deal. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting. There's going
to be some nerves. I mean,
there'll be some nerves, but we got some really good viewing figures out the back of the first event here, where we broke 100,000 concurrent. That's the first time that's happened for an event outside of North America. I want us to get to that should be getting to 150, because everybody who loves Call of Duty around the world, their eyes should firmly be glued on the series that is going to decide whether a team either takes home 50 grand or 25 grand.
Yeah. I just wanted to butt in quickly. Obviously, I think it's, if I'm right in thinking it's top 8 that actually get a slice of the prize pool.
Correct.
Last week, obviously, such a mass amount goes to first and second. Three-fourths of the prize pool I think is going to first and second.
Yes.
And we were talking about how maybe not for this event, but just for maybe just events in general. But do you think it's a better thing to have the prize pool spread across more teams? Because ultimately, if you can spread the prize pool across like 12 teams rather than 6 or 4 or 8 or whatever it be, you're giving them more sustainability, because they're able to get kind of a return on their investment into this esport. So do you think that's a good thing going forward? Because obviously a lot. I know UMG recently, a lot of the time it's been like top 4 maybe. Would you like to maybe see it be top 8 or further?
Well, I think we're paying out. We're going to pay out top 8. That's 50% of the people that are taking part, which basically means you turn up, you've got a 1 in 2 chance of getting cash.
But
Which
for,
I
say,
think
more open events, say like an open like UMG where you've got the open bracket and obviously the championship bracket, ultimately over 100 teams. Do you think if we were to see more prize pool go to further down the ranks, do you think that would make for more sustainability within the esport?
I think there's always an opportunity for further investment. I think that in terms of how it works from an open perspective, there are ways. There are sort of several ways to skin the cat. I think if you want to split prize pot further down, obviously that has to come out the top, and that's up to the event organizer to do that. I mean, there are opportunities to do other things whereby if you have a team, in order to give teams cash, where is that cash going to go? Is that going to be invested in their future, or is that just going to go down their necks at the bar, or is that just going to cover their travel costs?
Yeah.
My point and my argument would be that there are probably opportunities to, if teams do well at events, you invest in them in other ways. So maybe you invest in their accommodation, you invest in, if they don't have accommodation. Well, if you don't have uniforms, do you buy them uniforms? Do you set them up with potential sponsor meetings? Do you give them media training? Do you invest in them in other ways? And
that's a very good point.
These are the really interesting areas that we feel investment in teams and players could actually be used, rather than giving somebody $500. Could you use that $500 in a smart way that guarantees their future in terms of competing at the next couple of events? Like I said, there's many ways to skin the cat. All I know is that we'll be paying out $100,000 to the top 8, 1 in 2 chance of getting paid out. The way it breaks down is first gets 50, seconds gets 25. That's still blowing my mind. If I had hair, I'm so excited about that. My hair would grow back and fall out again.
Wow.
Third gets 10, and fourth gets 5. So again, there's the opportunity for someone to double their money, and then 5th to 8th get $2.5 grand. So if you get through the group stages, you're guaranteed to get $2.5 grand, and that's good. Especially the way the guys love the Hippodrome over here. So I know where that's going, but I'd like to see it go into their future. All I know is it's going to be a crazy tournament, and because we're doing it that way, it's then given us the opportunity to free up 2 other weekends, which we can invest into the European community to make that extra special also. And that's definitely worth watching, and that's what I would really love to see. I love the big teams. I'm also a fan of all these major teams that come over here and do so well and have these magnificent fan bases. But I would also love to see, the British, French, German, Spanish, Italian teams rooting for their own, becoming fans of the brands. We've got such amazing players, such amazing characters. Gunshy retired, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, spent, obviously announced it here anyway, spent, the last sort of 3-4 months out in America, living the dream over there. And, TCM came from the UK. I would love to have seen what we could have done to build up their brand. Obviously Epsilon have gone over there, but they've got an EU team as well. Let's invest in them. Marky B's one of my favourite players. He should have a fan base as big as anybody else's. But we're very, very quick as a community to look towards the big teams, as opposed to say, well, actually, let me become a fan of someone a little bit more local to me, like a lot of us do with other games, of other sports. I'd love to see that the European Pro League over the next sort of few months enables us to really grow our local brands. Let's build some amazing fan bases. Let's get the Epsilons, the Vitalities, the Gamers 2s, the Awares, the whoever, the Infused. Let's get their social media followings up by 10, 20,000. Let's get people buying their shirts. Let's get people tuning into their streams. And that's what this is all about. That's what the EU Pro League is about. That's what we're about, is actually addressing that balance, providing some elite level esports that everybody gets freaked out and excited about, but at the same time, put the time, the effort, and provide a platform for these guys to kind of attain the same sort of status as the current popular crop. And I think we'll see a little bit, because there's bound to be a changing of the guard soon as people get older and move on to do other things. But that's what I want to see now, and that's what the EU Pro League should promote.
It's really good, because you can tell just from like that little bit of a speech, so to speak, that you as a company are definitely dedicated to obviously the growth of the UK, and more importantly, European community. Obviously, you want to see it grow, and that's what I like to hear is, someone who is a spectator who is a little bit fanboyish towards the European community. Obviously, I want to see that do well. So to see a company like yourselves, who obviously kind of at the forefront of it all, kind of having this outlook is really it's really good to see. And talking about growth, one thing I do want to talk about is the fact that 100k is quite a bit of money last time I checked, and then you've also partnered up with the Sun, what's obviously a leading newspaper in the UK. What was that kind of like? Was that kind of beneficial to increase the prize pot, having these large sponsors come on board?
No, so obviously the partnership with News UK is very, very important. So it's important on two levels. One, obviously, because it shows we do something right. So when a brand like that wants to get involved, it's really valuable to us, and they've been brilliant partners so far and will continue to be, I'm sure. But also, and one of the key things for us, because partnerships have to work two ways. You kind of have to want to get in bed with each other in order to make it work. So it has to be sort of reciprocal. So one of the things that we really like about the partnership is that they are as passionate as we are about growing local talent, growing esports in the UK, growing the amount of people that participate. And
were you surprised almost when because I presume they contacted you about this sponsorship and deal, if you will? Were you almost surprised that so soon you're already getting like big companies within the UK at least coming towards you and wanting to partner with you?
I don't know about surprise, because anyone that sort of exists in this industry that we do, we're aware of the size of it and we're aware of the potential. So it's kind of, if anything, it was kind of relieving. It's kind of a meeting of minds, if you like. But like I say, they've got, they've got the ability to really help promote it. They've got some unbelievable muscle behind them. News Corp, one of the most successful media companies in the world. So to have a very successful new but long-term partnership with them strategically is going to be great for everybody. Like I say, the most exciting thing for us is how passionate they are about the growth of UK esports, and that's something that we can't wait to tap into.
One thing what I kind of like the thought of is obviously having a news outlet kind of be behind you is kind of encouraging, because a lot of the time if you see anything associated with games in the news, it's usually always negative. So the fact that obviously they're kind of behind you in the sense that it kind of leads the right way, in the sense that we're actually going to be seeing more stories about, I think there's a story about Swanee the other day, or it was actually more the other month ago, where there was obviously his way going into America. So it's good to see that there's going to be more. Exactly, it's good to see that. Hopefully it means that there's going to be some more news in terms of esports and kind of educating the people who don't really
a bit naive, I'd say.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Look at it is this. The way you've got to look at it is this. It's generational. It's generational though, lads. You've got the people that have been the people that have been writing stories in the past, and the people that have been putting together documentaries and news pieces have been of a certain age that missed that wasn't necessarily a part of their youth to get involved with video games at an early. And I'm not slagging them off. I'm not calling them old.
Don't understand it.
No, they don't. It's not in there. They don't get it. They don't get it. I made an appearance at G3. We were featured as part of an ITV documentary, and it's our feeling here. I said it then. It's a generational difference. That if you go back to the 60s when there was a kind of a change in culture, the people that didn't get it said it was ridiculous, it wouldn't last, and it was frowned upon, and that's kind of been what we've had to deal with video games in the past. But that attitude's changing. The deal we've done with News UK and that partnership is proof that attitude is changing. The amount of exposure that esports gets through major media outlets like the BBC shows that attitude is changing, and people are willing to shine a different light on it. And that's part of our job. That part of our job is to get them down here and show them the events week in, week out. Show them that it's different. Show them that the stereotype of all gamers being 16 stone, afraid of the sun, and sitting there eating crisps is absolute crap, because
just show them censor. Just throw censor at them.
Well, exactly. No, yeah. Well, he needs his own calendar, doesn't he? By the way, that calendar's available from Clinton Cards. It's not. Don't go look for it.
It's not in the Gfinity store.
It might be. Yeah. It might be. We launch our shop. We launch our shop really, really soon. So watch the space. You never know what you'll be able to get through that.
I want a Gfinity hoodie. So.
Yeah, maybe we might sort you out one. If you keep being nice to us, we might sort you on out. But no, that perception is changing, and we're very pleased to see it change. Arguably it isn't changing quick enough, but the positive way to look at it is is that it's starting to change, and we should embrace that.
Now less of the media, because again, every time we seem to be on this show, it just always goes on tangents, and we want to talk about the league, we want to talk about the 100K.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Get to media. No, it's kind of my fault as well, because I like listening to you just ramble on, because you're so knowledgeable, and you just kind of like, you have a unique outlook. Because obviously, from my point of view, from Tommy's point of view, we're just like on the outside, we're behind the closed.
Yeah.
Well, you're obviously behind the closed doors. You kind of know what goes on behind the scenes, and you kind of educate us a little bit more. So it's always interesting. But one thing I want to talk about a little bit more is the format of the whole league, because Marky B was on the show last week with Joel, and they kind of talked about it as how it was a little bit different, a little bit unique. I believe it's a best of 8 format, so you've got to play every map. So even though if you're 7-0 down, you've still got to play the 8th map. What was the thinking going on behind that? Did you have any say in that?
They don't involve me in that here, mate. Okay. That is not my area of expertise whatsoever. And I think if I was to start commenting on that, I'd very quickly find Paul Kent outside my house with some matches and some petrol. We always try to do things a little bit differently, but we canvass opinion from people before we build these these strategies, these rules, these regulations. It's something that Paul and the rest of his esports team here do incredibly well. That serviced us, very well in the past, and I imagine will continue to do so. So that's one for them. I mean, I can find out, but I wasn't involved.
Okay, I don't think so. That's good. At least we can kind of like take that weight off your shoulders, because
Thanks, mate.
I don't want to.
Let's talk about 18 years. No, let's not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's probably your forte at the minute. Is just talking about that. But one thing I want to talk about a little bit more is kind of the whole situation is how everyone's going to be playing each other 7 times. Then at the end of the league, do you know what's going to happen? Is it going to be kind of like a playoff situation? Obviously, the top 2 in the championship gets promoted, top 2 or the bottom 2 in the Premiership gets relegated. Is there any sort of playoffs, or are we going to see an FA Cup sort of pop up every now and again?
Quickly, just to obviously finalise the talk about the league. I know
Goalie's like typing, stop talking about the league.
It's going crackers. Sorry, mate. Right, yes, effectively, bottom 2 from the Premiership get relegated, top 2 from the Championship get promoted, bottom 2 from the Championship get relegated. Everybody in the feeder leagues, whoever wins their league, goes into a bracket. The top 2 teams from that bracket go into the Championship, and the winner gets some money. There's also prize money running throughout the entire structure. So there's plenty of ways for people to progress. It's going to be cool. It's going to be great.
Okay, it's good to see that obviously Gfinity are providing money for every single platform, not just the Premiership. And before Goalie goes and kills me, we're actually going to take it to another break, and then we're going to come straight back with a question from Reddit. So if you didn't see the questions from Reddit, make sure you obviously type them in the chat. Tommy and myself will pick out the ones what aren't stupid. And we'll see you on this minute break. Bye.
Hey guys, welcome back to the STiKS EU. I don't normally bring the show back, but it's because basically I'm going to give you a quick rundown of an event that actually took place at the weekend. It was of course DreamHack, and then we'll get on to them questions from Reddit. There is a post on Reddit. If you want to ask Martin any questions, get them in there quickly, and Rage will be looking for any additional questions. But without further ado, so this weekend we obviously had DreamHack's second event. They had the Swedish Championship a couple of weekends ago. When we had obviously Quicker Than You on, he was playing for Barrage, and then obviously this weekend just gone. Other than the MLGX games, it's hard to know that there was actually another event going on, but there was in fact the DreamHack Nordic Championship. So we had 4 teams. I think we had a Finnish team, a Denmark team, Swedish team, and another team from I think Norway or something all together to make the Nordic Championships. So one team from every region or country, if you will, and it was a bit of a bizarre tournament because there's only 4 teams there, but ultimately they did like a group play formatting to seed you for the single elimination bracket. We then had the single elimination bracket where ultimately Barrage and Team Menace got through to the grand final to play each other, where it was a very, very close series, but ultimately Team Menace clutched up in game number 5, ended up taking it away. I honestly thought Barrage were going to take it, but Menace took it 3-2, so they will basically go on to face, I think it's Team Envious. Now, nothing official's been, okay, Goldie's whispering in my ear said it's yes, it is. So it will be this weekend. It's the DreamHack Invitational, I think they're calling it. I think it'll be at the DreamHack Monster Studios or whatever they call it. So that weekend, this weekend coming will be Envy versus Team Menace. It's worth noting that, if I'm not mistaken, Saints isn't playing because we talked about this a little bit pre-show of how he still has not somehow got his passport sorted out for whatever reason. But I just want to ask a quick question to Martin and Rage. Who's taking it? What is the series count?
I've got to be honest. I wasn't watching it. I just missed Bryce's face.
Oh,
I might tune in just to look at Bryce. Have the sound off. I have the sound off because I don't listen to him.
You just want to see his face.
I just want to see his face.
Then you'll get reminded of how annoying he can be.
Okay, Rage, try and pick me up on this.
Envious, because I'm smart.
Okay. I think Envy, if I'm not mistaken, are playing with Nameless instead of Saints. Don't quote me though. I think that's the case. But that's pretty much a recap. That's happening this weekend. Obviously, there's not much Call of Duty action on, so you can tune in. It was on MLG and Twitch and on DreamHack's website last weekend. So if you watch MLG or if you watch and Hitbox or whatever, it's everywhere. So tune in this weekend. Hopefully, we can get a good viewership. Support the EU scene, even though Envious are playing. But we'll just disregard that, and we'll all cheer on Team Menace because, yeah, why not? Good old Gef Kid and co.
Gotta love Gav Kid. And I believe that's it. And we're going to be going into questions from Reddit as well as a couple of questions what I've noted down on this piece of paper in front of me. So if they're wrong, blame my bad handwriting. But we're going to kind of move on to Reddit first because that was kind of the one what everyone went to first. And the first question is going to come in from the user ways. R.I. Fume or Fume? Again, I've given up on reading. Will it be a G4 or G bracket number done now? Or is it just going to be Gfinity Masters?
So we basically have we've sorted out what we think our plan for 2016 is going to look like now. So there will be some announcements about how that's all structured. You can expect something really cool very soon, but more will be revealed probably in about somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks.
Will can you say it? But will like these events kind of feature outside the Gfinity arena into some bigger scales? Because obviously last time you went to the Copper Box.
Would you guys like that? Would you like us to go to somewhere massive?
Yeah. Let's just go Wembley. Let's just go all out Wembley.
Preferably like near my hometown, so I don't have to do a lot of travelling. That'd be great.
Alex wants every event in Nottingham. He's just like, oh, Nottingham.
What, the Nottingham Trent Arena? Is it? Is that right? Is that what it's called?
It sounds like you've already done your research.
Oh.
I'm already starting to
I'll leave that one with you.
Keep it in London.
Leave that one with you.
London's good for me. Keep it in London.
I nearly told you them, but I'm not going to tell you. There's some. There's some really cool stuff happening.
Okay, quickly moving on to the next question before you leak all of Gfinity's plans and maybe get in a bit of trouble. The next question is coming in from Conviction, spelt with a 7 instead of a T. Very clever. Basically wants to know, it being Martin, so does Martin think the Epsilon and TCM squads will come back to the European scene with the creation of the Gfinity League? What is a bit, I guess, late, but let's say hypothetically, I don't know, because obviously if Epsilon don't qualify for the NA League, it's only Swanee coming back. But I guess, what's your opinions on it? Because I guess obviously if TCM don't get into season 3, they're going to have to come back. But what are your opinions?
My opinion is that I was very happy for TCM guys to, that they kind of got into the MLG League. You've got some really cool players and great friends of ours over there experiencing, Call of Duty in the MLG Pro League and starting to do really well now and putting some really strong performances. And from that perspective, it's really pleasing. It's really good to see. Again, it's an example of a European team going to America doing well. So, we show that it can be done when we compete at the highest level. And to see Epsilon now build an NA roster, to facilitate Swanee's dream, I think is the right thing to do, because if there's been any European player that deserves to showcase his ability at the top level, it's Swanee. We all know that. We all love Swanee. But at the same time, it's quite bittersweet because, to actually see these teams have to go there in order to feel that they've got to progress is kind of a bit of a sad.
Taking away talent from the EU scene, ultimately.
It was a little bit, so that was a little bit hard. It was a little bit hard to take, although that we kind of had to take that on the chin. That was just that it's just the reality of life. But with the launch of the EU Pro League, we're doing something about that. We will be able to make it more attractive and offer more regular high level competition, so that it becomes more attractive to play in Europe. And you saw similar things with football years ago, where in England you never saw a foreign player playing in the old English Championship. That didn't happen. With the launch of the Premier League, it became a lot more attractive. All of a sudden, some of the top foreign players from around the world started coming to England to compete here, because that's where the best competition was and still is. So that's why the English Premier League is so exciting week in, week out. Can we mirror that? Can we be able to offer something like that in the future, where the best in the world are coming to actually play in the UK in the EU Pro League? Absolutely, why not? There's no point in doing it unless we're going to aspire to be the very, very best. Yeah, clearly, that's not the situation now. But that's what I said at the top of the show. We're starting something, we're building something, and aspirationally, absolutely, we'd love to have the TCM boys and the Epsilon boys back over here, kind of running riot and competing with us. But it is what it is at the moment. Good luck to them. We obviously love them loads and want them to do really well. So they're still flying the European flag. They're flying it abroad currently for us, and we have no problem with that. We wish them all the very best.
Okay. The next question is going to be coming from Lord B Picks on Reddit, and he asks thoughts on the rise of the Spanish scene. I assume that's probably in reference to the fact that obviously there's 2 Spanish teams currently in the Premiership. That's Gamers 2 and Over Gaming. So what's your thoughts on that? A lot of people, I think Marky kind of suggested it. With me kind of forcing it down, it was like connection might have been a little bit of a factor, obviously, with being an online league. Do you feel as if that might play maybe in their favour?
Oh, so look, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We never truly know actually until we get into some regular competition. But at the same time, they've obviously done very well to qualify. I think it's great. We opened it up to the entire European territory. So to have the guys from Spain, 2 teams from Spain involved, actually, it's quite surprising, but 2, I think it's incredibly positive. They're a massive community. They love their Call of Duty. They're very passionate about taking part, and I think it's going to be great to have them. And we know that obviously that they'll be very, very well supported. So they'll come with a really strong fan base. I know that the Gamers 2 fans are massively passionate. I got a load of grief when I was at Champs because I forgot to include Gamers 2 in a tweet, which I very quickly corrected, guys. I very quickly corrected. So no, it's great. I think it's brilliant, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it evolves over the coming months. Actually, which teams kind of drop in, drop out, and from where in Europe they are.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I've got one quick question and then one question actually from the chat that I just wanted to implement as well. So the first quick question is, whose idea was it to have the arena in a movie theatre?
Take the credit.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't mine. No, so we played around with various options about where to put the arena, and we ended up being quite far down a couple of different roads about making a decision. Then the opportunity came up to discuss a partnership with View, which made lots of sense in many ways and was very smart. And they are great. They are brilliant people. They love gaming. They've embraced esports. They're very forward thinking, and they've enabled us to create something really special here, for which we're grateful. They are really, really, really good guys, and are sort of very supportive of the whole esports scene. And so it wasn't my idea. It was kind of a meeting of minds, but it's worked out incredibly well.
Awesome stuff. Okay, and this question is a little bit more complicated. It's coming from Seb Noble. Sorry if I pronounced your second name wrong from the chat. It's quite good though. I like this question. He basically says, for Martin, with the expansion of the Gfinity League, do you see yourselves being on the same level as MG in the NA in the next few years? And then he kind of puts a counterclaim, if you will, or do you think the EU community's immaturity and poor behaviour is too much for that to ever happen?
Okay, right. First bit first.
bit to take in then.
And on 2 really, really good questions. If we didn't want to be the best, we wouldn't be here. To answer that, But that said, we have a great relationship with the guys at MLG. We don't currently have any aspirations to trample over obviously what they're doing. We're very supportive of each other.
Inspire though.
Absolutely. They've set the trend. They've raised the bar. They've really sort of given us the opportunity and the inspiration to set Gfinity up and do it the way we're doing it. So without the MLGs of the world, there'd be no Gfinity. So again, we have complete and utter respect for them. But obviously, we want to do the best possible job that we can. You know, we lean on them for a lot of advice sometimes, and as they do with us, and it's working out incredibly well. So we would, through the EU Pro League, we want to have something in week out of the level of Call of Duty that they're able to produce over there? Absolutely. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. Do I think the European community are too immature to ever get it there? I think there are elements of the community that they don't hold it back. They don't. So one of my frustrations is that it's very, very easy for this community to be a bit negative and be a bit cynical. Whereas I think everybody will testify, and without trying to sound like a hippie, you know, that a bit more of a positive movement when it has a much more sort of much bigger effects. So I think there are a few people and a few usual suspects that try to drag it down for whatever reason. But, you know, I would like to think that, you know, the level of effort that ourselves and Activision are putting into improving European Call of Duty will hopefully be reciprocated by people who will just change their behaviour, embrace it, and start to support it in a bit more of a positive way. So I mean, in time, those people that don't want to get involved won't get involved. They'll be eradicated and good riddance.
Eradicated. That's a strong word. It's a bit of a scary word.
Wipe them out.
I'm not talking about killing them. I'm just saying that they'll just be left behind.
Oh, I didn't know we could do that.
No. That's definitely not what I'm saying.
Gfinity has the power. I'm just saying.
We do not have the power over life.
I think we should swiftly move on before someone from MLG watches this and thinks, "Wait, what?"
Last question. Moving on. Is coming from Impel Racing.
By the way, eradicated. I was talking about the negative people.
Yeah. I know.
Get rid of the bad attitudes. Basically.
I know. Tommy was just, you know, he was just dreaming of like a Gfinity like MLG war across the Atlantic or somewhere. I don't know what he was thinking.
I'm telling you now, it won't happen. We have a really good relationship with those guys.
Shoot the messenger, man.
It's apparent, but yeah. Coming in from Impel Rated before we get all of a sudden knocked off MLG.tv, but his question is EU Pro League predictions. We did this last week. Mine, I don't know if we've got the list of like the actual teams in front of you.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That makes my life a little bit easier. What's your predictions? We'll just go first, second, and third for the league. Does anyone want to go first?
Do you want to do top 4 of getting into the 100k?
Yeah, we'll do top 4 actually, because then obviously they qualify for the 100k. Tommy, as per usual, genius ideas.
Oh, okay. Oh, we did this last time, didn't we? Jeez. Okay, I think Vitality, Epsilon. I don't even have the list in front of me. Let me just find it quickly. I'm being a bit of a noob.
In the meanwhile, my teams
is Rage.
My teams are Epsilon, Vitality, Infused, and then I thought it's kind of a little bit of a chuck up between whoever does online.
We did this last, didn't we?
Yeah, because obviously Epsilon, Vitality, they're kind of going to be on everyone's list. I'll be very surprised if one of you two don't mention them. They're always considered to be the better teams. They've got the players who have been around in the scene for a while, so 100% expecting them to come through. Infused, again, I just feel as if Quicker, Melon, Lewis and JT is such a strong roster. I feel as if they will make it in quite comfortably. And then I feel as if the 4th spot is just kind of who does well in the league, because obviously we mentioned connection. That could kind of be an issue. We could have this one squad, just warriors, so to speak, or, Millennium. Millennium's always a good shout. They've obviously got that French connection. Obviously, you've got Gataga as well. They could technically
Spanish connection though.
So exactly, it's completely open. I think 4th place is completely open. If I'm going to take a stab in the dark, I'm probably going to say Hyper Games.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I think I'm not a million miles away. I think I would think the top 4 are going to be Epsilon, Vitality. I quite like the boys from Hyper Games, if I'm fair. I really like those guys. And I'm going to chuck Gamers 2 in there. I'm going to chuck Gamers 2. I think we might
is that just because you missed them at COD Champs in that tweet?
Absolutely, yes. No, I think you'll see a very decent spread. Okay. I think the Spanish, are going to be putting a good show.
Okay, well, I definitely feel like we can agree that Epsilon and Vitality would be up there. The way they've been playing in the Gfinity Cups and so on, I think they'll definitely be up there. Then I want to say Infused, but for me it's a toss-up between maybe Infused, Millennium. I could honestly see someone like VWS there as well. I think we're probably not putting them in our top 4s because they're a bit unknown coming into this, but as time goes on, we'll soon find out if they can really compete at the highest level. But just to be safe, I think I will go with Epsilon, with Vitality Storm, Team Infused, and Hyper Games, just as a safe bet.
Okay. So
we shall see.
We shall see, exactly. Make sure you stay tuned to insert plug here, like gfinity.com/league, I guess, or something.
Gfinity.net, and it's all going to be streamed. It'll be streamed every Wednesday on mlg.tv/Gfinity. Okay, mlg.tv/Gfinity. Tune in, support Europe. Come on, stop messing around. Fly the flag.
And of course, Martin, you've been on the show before. You kind of know how we end this. We give you 30 seconds to a minute. You can have 5 minutes if you want, but it's probably not recommended because Gordy will probably shout at you.
Yeah.
To kind of close off the show, any shout-outs you want to give, any final words, any motivational speeches, now's your time. Off you go.
Just want to say thanks to everybody that supported Gfinity so far. If you've been down to the arena, thanks very much. Come down again. We'd love to see you again. All the information is available on gfinity.net. Follow us on Twitter at Gfinity and Facebook. I think it's just Gfinity UK. I should know that. I don't, sadly. But you'll work it out. You're all smart. And continue to support EU Call of Duty. Your teams, your countries, get behind them, become fans. Tweet the streams, watch the streams, tweet the teams out. Become fans. Let's grow it. Let's absolutely smash it next year at Champs, and together we can do it. And stop moaning about the age. We'll get there. Don't worry, we're sorting it. I promise it'll be worth it.
I'm on it, all right.
As soon as they turn 18, like all of a sudden, their whole issue with the age just drops out the window.
I blame Paul Kent. Paul Kent is single-handedly holding back UK sports.
I mean, if anyone wants to get at him, I believe his Twitter handle's Melmoth. Is it still Melmoth? You can tweet him.
You said it, mate. You can deal with him now.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he doesn't like me. Tommy, off you go.
Oh, this has been one of the more funny outros. I just love the work that Gfinity are doing. Obviously, you summed up right there the fact that you just want esports to grow regardless of who it is winning, who it is playing, and so on and so forth. So I love that. Thank you for Martin for coming on for a second time. We really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Obviously, we had to put the show back a bit for your sake, but we have no problem with doing that. We're just thankful.
That's your way of saying the delay was my fault, isn't it?
No,
listen, just call me out. Just say. Look, everyone, it was my fault. It was my fault. It was my fault.
But in all fairness to you, could have easily turned around and said, "Hey, I can't make it full stop." So I appreciate you, rescheduling with us at short notice. I really appreciate that. My name's been Tommy. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Sorry about Rage's problems with his internet. I'll make sure he's not on dial-up next week. And we'll see you next week with a brand new episode with a different guest.
Let's close out the show, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. As per usual, check out the codes down below. STiKS with 5% off Scuff and 10% off G Fuel. Sounds pretty good. Martin, thanks a lot for coming on the show. There's a reason why it's your second time on the show now. We enjoyed you the first time, and we enjoyed you the second time. So
what happens when you have me on for a third time? What do I get? Like the hat trick? What do I get? I get something.
That's a good shout.
Do I get like a STiKS hoodie or a t-shirt or something? What happens?
I mean, if you want to pay for it.
We pay for it.
It's awkward because last week we had Joel and Marky for the third time.
Right, so what did you give them?
Nothing.
Joel, Marky, get yourself some free stuff.
We'll say 5 times. Five times.
No. We'll do 100 because obviously you get a cap. When you get an England cap at football if you get 100.
God, mate, I'll be about 60
How long are we going to be doing this show for if you get 100 times?
Well, hopefully your show is, by the time I hit 100 appearances on this show, if that ever happens, hopefully you'll be slap bang on Sky Sports or something.
Yeah.
That's why it should grow. It should grow for everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. We could be on Sky Sports. But anyway, moving on. Tommy just completely threw Martin underneath the bus, like in his intros. I'm not going to do that.
He did the right thing. He did the right
thing. I'm not taking shots.
Yeah, hopefully he's not here next week if he's going to be doing that to the next guest. And yeah, we'll see you all next week. Bye. Awkward ending wave.
Awkward ending.